Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Miami Dolphins' recent free agent signings of Albert Wilson and Danny Amendola. As everybody knows, the Miami Dolphins essentially traded Jarvis Landry to the Cleveland Browns, and after that was set, they obviously were in the market for wide receivers because you basically traded your top wide receiver. I mean, Jarvis Landry, in many ways, from a volume perspective, was the top wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins for over 3 years straight. And now you have to replace that production. And they got two guys in particular, Albert Wilson and Danny Amendola. And today's video is going to center around both of those players in terms of what they look like from a analytics perspective. So we're going to look at their pre-draft profile, we're going to look at their NFL profile, and we're also just going to give some general judgments about whether or not they can replace the impact that Jarvis Landry had in his time in Miami. So we're going to go over a lot of different information. So if you're new to the channel and you're new to the work that I do, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So again, if you're not familiar with the explosive lower body strength score, if you're not familiar with anything that is talked about in this video, you can just go to the description and all of the terms and definitions will be there for you at your leisure. So first off, let's get to Albert Wilson. Albert Wilson, based on his pre-draft profile, had a 92.47 overall college market share production score. That pretty much hits the average score for a all-pro wide receiver, and it's also above average of what an average score for a Pro Bowler, and also above average of what a starter usually gets. The only thing I would say about his production is that his production was at a lesser competition. You know, he had 90+ percentile production against Georgia State versus having 90+ percentile production against, say, Alabama, right, or some other big-time college. So the only sort of thing that kind of negates some of this stuff is the fact that it was against lesser competition, but he does have a pretty strong production profile nevertheless. Athleticism-wise, fantastic athlete, had a 90.47 explosive lower body strength score, 97.14 speed score, and 87.12 flexibility score. When it comes to wide receivers with all-pro potential to Pro Bowl potential, you just want one of those scores to be over 54. And in Albert Wilson's case, he has 3 scores that are above 54. So again, fantastic athlete for his size. In terms of production at the NFL level, from a volume perspective, not that amazing. He's only had, in particular, 2 seasons where he had above average passing yardage market share production, which is MSPY, and has only had 3 seasons where he had above average market share in general, so total market share. He's only had 2 years in particular where he had above average data. So as a wide receiver, production-wise, he's really only been above average, what most NFL wide receivers are, for 2 seasons, you know, from a passing yardage perspective. So not the most productive guy, obviously, at the NFL level. And then, of course, when you look at his completion percentage data, so this is basically his completion percentage data on various downs and distances. So first down, second down, third down, and fourth down. And he's been pretty decent at getting completions on first down and second down in terms of balls that are thrown his way, but third down has by far been one of his weak spots. When you look at third down, second down, when you look at third down in particular, he's only had 1 year where he had above average completion percentage in terms of third down situations. So third down is not the best down for him, fortunately. I haven't gone to the film to really dig into why that is. I mean, it may be there may be a offensive scheme specific reason as to why this is what it is, but it is one of the concerning aspects of his game. And then, of course, when you get to first down conversion rate, so this basically deals with his ability to convert first downs into first down in various downs and distances. And he's really only had 2 seasons in particular where he had above average first down conversion rate on first down, second down, and that was in 2014 and 2017. So third down has been kind of abysmal, has never been that amazing when it came to converting first downs into first down on third down, or essentially converting third downs into first down. He's never really been that great. And then, of course, in 2016 and 2015, he was below average in terms of his ability to convert anything really when it comes to those particular seasons in terms of getting first downs. So keep in mind this was in limited time, but this is the main concern with him in general, is that he's just never been that consistent of a wide receiver in terms of getting first downs, which matters a lot to winning football games. Again, I just add the 12 or more wins, 10 or more wins, 8 or more wins, is that, again, the more often that you as a team convert first downs as a team, again, the better your first down conversion rate is, the more wins you're likely to win. So this has to do with winning. You know, this isn't just me just saying this to give you some information. This is me saying that, again, if you have a wide receiver who's converting first downs at a pretty high rate, you're more likely to win football games, and that has not necessarily been the case for Albert Wilson. When we get to Danny Amendola, of course, slot receiver, this guy actually makes a lot of sense in the Jarvis Landry landscape, kind of, because he is sort of a slot receiver, and Landry's definitely a slot receiver, and there's also some athleticism similarities, or lack of athleticism similarities. When you look at Danny Amendola, he had a 44.85 college market share production score. Not really in the average All-Pro score, average Pro Bowl score, average starter score. He's really just been more of a complimentary wide receiver, you know, that third option, if you will, third to fourth option for most of his career. Then, of course, you look at his athleticism data, only had a 2.40 explosive lower body strength score, 5.26 speed score, and 37.01 flexibility score. Just like Jarvis Landry, not the best athlete. I've done other videos on Jarvis Landry, so you can kind of go back to some of those. If you just put in Jarvis Landry analytics, you'll find some of those videos. But again, not the best athlete, but has had a fairly decent career. Not the most productive career ever. His most productive career as a NFL player was in 2010 with the St. Louis Rams at the time, where he put up a 83.43 total offensive market share production score, and also had a 76 total score. But you can see a similarity here between both Albert Wilson and Danny Amendola, is that neither one of these players has ever been a top 10, top 20, or even top 30 wide receiver in their career. They've never really been like a 16-game number one, number two option type production guy at any point in their career. You know, neither one of them has been consistent in terms of getting 80 percentile production from a macro standpoint, which is a bit concerning. Now, this, of course, could be seen as like a Moneyball approach, in the sense that you lost Jarvis Landry. You're not going to get Jarvis Landry in free agency for the most part, so you might as well cobble together a Jarvis Landry, which I think that might be what they're trying to do. But at the same time, I still think it's kind of expensive to pay both of these players money indicative of an average starting wide receiver when they don't really even produce like an average starting wide receiver. At least consistently, they don't really do that. And then, of course, you look at Danny Amendola's completion percentage data. He's actually a lot better than Albert Wilson, as you can see. This is the one thing about Danny Amendola, is that when it comes to completions, he's been great. Anytime the ball is thrown his way, you're guaranteed to get a pretty high completion percentage. Very similar to Jarvis Landry in many ways, which is why Danny Amendola makes a little bit more sense as a Jarvis Landry replacement, sort of, because of the completion percentage data. But then when you get to the first down conversion rate, abysmal on first down, abysmal on second down, except for a couple years here and there. And then third down, he's actually been fairly decent. Whether you're talking 2011 to 2017, he's been fairly decent in terms of converting those into third down. But it's also important to note that a lot of these seasons, at least in 2016 and 2017, he had Tom Brady, obviously. So there might have been some influence there with that. But bottom line is, I think if you take Albert Wilson, you take Danny Amendola, and you take some of the positives that they have and combine them, you might end up having a fairly decent receiver core, because, again, Albert Wilson has shown in a few seasons to be able to have a very good ability to convert first downs and second downs into first downs. Danny Amendola has been better in terms of third down situations. So I think the combination of those two, you look for Danny Amendola on third down and you look for Albert Wilson on first and second, I think there could be something there potentially if you just look at it from like a Moneyball perspective. In terms of how they replaced Jarvis Landry, when you get to Jarvis Landry's data, of course, again, Jarvis Landry was a guy that was a 90-plus percentile overall production guy when it came to total offensive market share from 2015 to 2017. That's hard production to mimic. You know, again, extremely productive player. But when you actually look at the micro data in terms of his ability to convert first downs into first down, or convert second downs into first down, or convert third downs into first down, he's not been that great. Again, when you look at his best down and distance, it's really first down and fourth down. Those are his best downs in terms of converting those situations into first down. And third down has been really abysmal. It was one of the oddest things when reviewing Jarvis Landry's data. In fact, I actually had to go back and double check that this was correct, and it was that he's just not really been the best in terms of converting third downs throughout most of his career compared to the rest of the wide receivers that were in this particular sample. So again, I think if you look at Albert Wilson and you look at Danny Amendola as sort of a cobbling together type of thing, you might be able to replace a lot of the impact that Jarvis Landry had. You may not be able to replace the macro-ness of it all, but I do think you'll be able to replace some of the micro-ness of it. And I think that's the big sort of perspective, the big picture perspective I think you have to have when you come to these signings, is that yes, they're being overpaid. I mean, they're being overpaid because, again, these are guys that have never really put up average NFL wide receiver production consistently throughout their career. These guys have really been number 3, number 4 options, both of these guys, throughout most of their career. With Albert Wilson being the only one who might be able to become a starring role and might break out just because of what his college production was. But there's no guarantee of that actually working. But if you look at this as sort of a way of, you know what, we lost Jarvis Landry. We were going to spend $16 million plus on him a year to keep him. So we might as well just get 2 wide receivers, pay one $8 million, pay the other one $8-ish million a year, and try to cobble together a similar amount of production. And I think that's kind of what the Dolphins are trying to do. They're trying to replace one player with 2 players. But again, I do think that there are concerns with both of these players in terms of them becoming starring role players. So I wouldn't expect that out of them, but I do think that you might be able to cobble together enough to at least survive the hit of not having Jarvis Landry, and then hopefully in the draft you might pick up a couple wide receivers here and there that might actually do pretty well for you. But let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts about the 2 signings of Danny Amendola and Albert Wilson to the Miami Dolphins? And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always reminded when another video of mine drops. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.